Cisco Nexus VXLAN EVPN hands-on for NDFC. VXLAN EVPN allows the virtual network to expand flexibly, while the configuration management are more complicated than traditional networks. It is possible to manage it with CLI, but from the viewpoint of operation maintenance, it is important to realize the automation and the virtualization of the construction by introducing an SD-WAN controller. That's NDFC, a solution that can provide these functions. And I am NetMaven. I will cover these scenarios. Introduction, what it is about, and I will create a fabric, create interface, create VRF, network, attached to network, and works to create the parts in the external fabric. And we'll check out the settings where attached network is complete, the connections between the hosts in the VX fabrics that are established. Once the external routing configuration is complete, I will be able to check the connectivity between the host inside and outside VX fabric. It is estimated to include the N configuration of NDFC. So I will also at the end of the lab, there is a useful tips for managing NDFC. I can also use these NDFC tips like block exports, imports, and VXLAN OEM, policy template, configuration compliance, image management, IMA, backup restore, and performance metrics, and all other useful things I was going to tell you. When I log into the NDFC, it is called the Nexus dashboard ND. The overview page will open. Then I can perform appropriate operations from the bar at the top or menu on the left. So from the top bar here, I can visit Cisco.com obviously, and it's the return to the top screen Nexus ND, and I have admin console, is Nexus dashboard overview management, or the service, NDFC, fabric controller, and NDI, etc. In here, I have is the Nexus dashboard install service version information, and their critical events. On the left can be performed overview like ND cluster, like status and site. Operate is registered sites like ACI, NDFC, standalone, NSOS. We have sites deployed in ND cluster. We have NDFC, NDI, etc. And we have information about each node. Unless here is events and monitor of ND clusters and services or audit logs, log acquisition, resource monitoring, etc. Admin, here we can do a few things. Here we can control the software management and authentication, user system settings, etc. We can do it here. The next thing going on the top is the fabric controller. It is the hands-on lab about. Is where I will mainly operate the fabric controller. Let's log into it. When I access NDFC, the dashboard will open. Then I can perform appropriate operations from the left menu. On the left bar, you will see dashboard, topology, and LAN virtual management settings operation. And this is the dashboard. We have topology. Once we're on board of the nodes, and you will see. And LAN here, we could create fabrics and take a look at switch interfaces. It's mainly here for the fabric. When carry out the operation, all about here. And here you go. The NDFC also allows me to configure some of the Nexus settings via CLI. If I'm also setting up via CLI, we're gonna to use the mod putty and login as SSH. The NXOS allows me to execute some of the show commands and the ping commands in any hierarchical configuration mode. So we're gonna to show version. I can also do config show version without do. Show module. So NDFC will manage the management ports via the MGMT0 of the Nexus. So I must first configure the IP of management ports. In this hands-on environment, these settings have already been configured, and alternatively, I can use the POAP POPA for plug and play without configuring the management ports. So as the iOS, we'll configure like the host name, and we'll have to configure the interface MGMT and give an IP like this, and if necessary, we'll configure the static routes also. So this is a well-configured IP route, default router to the default gateway of management network. This part is already configured in every switch, including the external router. And here, let's talk about what is used MGMT. MGMT0 interface is our management interface. It is RJ45 interface. Above it, under 9300, we have console ports, and above it, it is 9504. We have similar management as MGMT, and it's under VIF management. Okay, and we can show VIF to see this VIF configure, and we'll see all the interface, included the management ports in here. I show VIF management ports interface. We'll see the status of this management ports is up or not. The NDFC will control via this management interface to onboard all of the Nexus switches we have. For Nexus dashboard platform, we have used 3.1x. It can be a bare metal physical server. It will install this iOS ISO software, and you can also deploy virtually in the VXLAN or KVM in Linux. Of course, you could in VM use OVA or Q Cloud 2 for deployment. You can also download. These are available in Cisco download page. Before, Nexus dashboards will be installed in application-based in different software version and separately installed the video and access controller. Dashboard controller in now 3.1 with here a single ISO file OVA image connects all services were directly upgraded from the previous version. Now let's talk about the Nexus dashboard controller cluster. Dashboards, we can deploy like a inbound and the fabric interface. Two interfaces were available for this cluster. They can be deployed in the inner cluster and the outer cluster right here. There's about be a bound interface and send default gateway. In here, we don't use cluster IP, so there's no any VIP for cluster. So just all via one management IPs when logging into the management screen. So in here, we want to talk the connection of a fabric controller. Of course, in here we have fabric controller management interface is the Nexus dashboard controller cluster management interface. We have the management interface here. We'll manage everything on NDFC ring here, where this interface management interface, and we have also another interface for the fabric. So the data and fabric interface is also used for OOB and discovery, onboarding, deployment, and monitor of the OOB interface of all the switches. And optionally, we can have data and fabric interface used for inbound management. We call this endpoint locator. It's an endpoint locator. Some of the limitations of the NDFC are here. We can deploy the one virtual node. It can control over 50 switches, 3 nodes, virtual machine application based, that will be 100, 5 nodes, they can control more, 5 control modes, they can control more of the switches. If you use physical nodes in here, and with this requirement, you can control the nodes and for the external also. If you just use a single for DC, you can use a DC and essential license. Multi-DC you will need is the advantage, and multiple DCs or want to do day 2 ops tools will be using advantage. First setup is to create the fabrics and register switches. Now create a VXLAN or VPC configuration with one click. It's automatic deployment based on the best practice. So we'll create the fabric for Nexus. Fabric question is under my LAN and the fabric. We'll add the switches to the fabric, then we'll set a role and we'll create a VPC pair and recalculate deploy it. Then we'll create a fabric for a router, we'll create a fabric, then we'll add a router to the fabric, we'll set a role also and recalculate deploy it. Then finally we'll track the topology. These are the fabric and the external routers right here. Let's do it. So first thing we're going to do is go to fabric, LAN and fabric action. We're going to create fabric. In the fabric name, we name it as a VXLAN EVPN fabric. When choose a fabric, we will use Datacenter VXLAN EVPN fabric. It's a best practice since it's available. Okay, easy fabric I'm going to create it. After selecting fabric, we'll select each parameter of the fabric. The settings will reflect it in the fabric based on these parameters. Settings others, LAN fabric name can be changed or later. So the settings are gonna be Datacenter VXLAN. We'll have to define the EGP AS number under the RP. We're gonna learn about on the replication, and under lay RP details will be configuring protocol. I'll have RBIF, MTU, authentication, etc. is in advanced, and IP ranges are in resources. And management BT will be DNS, NTPS, syslog, etc. So the settings vary depends on the fabric. This time we'll check each tab and see what the settings are available now. So go back to the general parameters. So we're going to create a fabric for Nexus. So the fabric AS number will be defined as 65001, and fabric interface numbering we'll want to use the unnumbered, and we'll use all loopback interface. And underlay subnet IP mask we use 31. OSPF is the underlay protocol, and rule refactor 2 is default, and this is the Anycast gateway MAC address, and will enable performance monitoring. For next, replication we talk about use multicast for replication, and this the group default group 239.1.10/25, and rendezvous point will use 2, and you can use the number of spines that acted as the RP. Okay, so RP mode we're gonna be ASM, asymmetric sparse mode, and the underlay RP loopback ID we use 254. Okay, it's RP. That's it, easy. And VPC, go VPC for we use is a link LAN range is 3600. Is a VPC pure link SVI. Okay, use keep live via management. We use the 500 as a peer link port channel ID is default. Don't have to make change. And here's the RP loopback ID 0. VTAP we use an IP loopback ID 1. Area protocol tag would be underlay OSPF process name is area 0. Go next, advanced. Here we're going to define in the green field we wanted to use is the green field cleanup option. Green field cleanup option we want to use enable. So in green field, if the setting is disabled, the switch will be forced to boot with clean configuration after being imported into NDFC fabric. Restart will be done, and however this takes a long time to save the time that enable this option. When this option is enabled, fabric controller cleans up the switch configuration in best effort process without rebooting. So in a production environment, disable this option, as there may be configuration changes such as a TCAM that require reboot. Okay, so next we'll find the resources on the top. On top we'll find resources. We'll keep using all the default underlay loopback IP range, underlay VTAP range, underlay RP loopback range, and underlay subnet IP range. The VF light will go down, is a menu, also a default. I'll go down over there. We'll find is a VRF light subnet IP range. We make 172.16.1.0. Stash is 24, and that's 31. Double check the range again. We change the VF light subnet range only under resources, and we'll click save. Here you go. We create a fabric for Nexus. We're going to double click the fabric. On the name, where we'll bring up the fabric window, and on the top right corner allows me to confirm fabric-wide actions and window manipulation. For each tab, such as overview, I can check the status to within the fabric and perform the operations as creating the policies and the network. Okay, switches, we can manage the switch interface. We can manage the interface, manage the policies, manage the network. We'll see the alerts under event analytics, events, alerts, events, task. Here metrics, we can see the CPU, memory, traffic volume, etc. The action here is for edit and add switches. We can recalculate and deploy, etc. And the question mark here is for help and minimize and close updates. Okay. Well, for the next thing, we're gonna go to switches, and we're gonna click top of the action in blue. Add a switch. Add a switch with the C switch 192.198.18.4.11. Here is the admin and my password. We're gonna check individual device that were right credential and uncheck preserve configuration. We're gonna delete existing configuration. Unchecking will clean up configuration of switch. Okay, so that's it. So we're gonna click discover switch, and we're gonna confirm that warning. If warning, we'll just go click OK. That's see what brings it to us. We want to click off the leave switches and add leave spine switch. They're gonna take time, and the status when finished gonna show as switch added. Now I'm gonna pause my video till the process is completed. Now let's go back, close that, and we'll see the switches in my switch tab. Find spine 1 and spine 2, and they are defined as a row, but I'm gonna change that. So we're gonna change a row to spine. Okay, select that, and needs me to recalculate and deploy. That's fine. Click OK. Take a look at the diagram here. We define spines, spine 1 and spine 2. Leaves 1, 2, 3. Leaf 4 will be defined as border. Okay, because it doesn't connect to any client side. Okay, doesn't have client connections. So we wanted this as a border. It provides external connectivity. So click leave 4, set a row as a border. The warning show OK. Leave, because they are 9300, they will be defined as leave. Now we're gonna create a VPC pairing. So click leave 1. Now we want to do is VPC pairing. So we're gonna select the peer switch in the VPC pairing. I can create a VPC configuration that follows the best practice. Click that. What's the pair? Pair will be leave 1 and 2. So we choose leave 1 and we choose leave 2 for the pair. Click save. Okay, fine. Now we're gonna do recalculate and deploy. Deploy the configuration from the NDFC to each switch. So in the fabric window, we're gonna click action on the top. recalculate and deploy. So recalculate the switch managed by the fabric to see if there's any configuration that needs to be deployed. After recalculation, the administrator checks the changes and deploys the settings if there are no problem. So if configuration shows been pending, that means here it shows on pending. That means there are settings that have not been reflected. Okay, I'm just gonna give a wait. And now the pending configuration lines check the view details of the configuration. Okay. It's all gonna be pushed to the switch based on the roles, based on the setting policies. Let's check what settings are reflected, such as on the top we can see the features. On the leaf 1 and see the VPC enabled and interface. Alright, they're gonna be taken care of by the fabric controller. Click deploy all. Let me pause the video. When the end, we'll see status showing success, and the progress bar is executed to all of the lines configuration. Now showing the lines completed successful configuration, and each of the leaf spine are showing successful status. Let's go ahead, close this tab, and we're gonna go to the overview. In the overview, we're checking the status of my fabric. On the switch configuration, it shows me all the switches are synchronized, and I have 3 leaf, 2 spine, and 1 border. They are proper roles assigned. And under VXLAN, here I'm seeing the routing rollback. NVE have been created. VTAP rollback, it takes a few minutes to display as an upload, so you can see these on my NVE interface. Perfectly assigned. Close this. We're going to create another fabric for the CSR router. It's gonna be the edge port router. It's gonna be another fabric. We're gonna call this external fabric. This being created, we're gonna now create external fabric. Fabric name, we'll say external fabric. Choose a fabric. The fabric in fabric controller we want to use is external connectivity network. Description says fabric for core and edge router deployment with a mixed Nexus and a non-Nexus device. That's what we want. Right here in general parameters, AS number BGP 65002, 65002, 65001 is the VXLAN fabric, external fabric 65002. We don't want a fabric monitor. Uncheck that. Enable will make a fabric only monitors with no configuration of deployed in here. We uncheck that. We're going to enable Fabric performance monitoring. Okay. That's it. So we're gonna save it. Now let's add a router to my external fabric. Click add a switch. On the router will be added 198.18.4.17. Make sure that LXXE is not a Nexus anymore. Admin. We're gonna check this to set individual, write a credential, discover. We're gonna add a router to the fabric. I created. We're gonna select the 8000V, and it shows manageable. If it doesn't become manageable, we're gonna click back to return to the previous screen and click discover switches again. Click switch, add a switch. Okay, when you see switch added, progress bar shows green, closes. Go to switches. I'm going to verify the added. We wanted to show what the row is going to be added. Now it's verify. My WAN router is showing edge router. Okay, which is what I wanted. And one last step is to recalculate and deploy. Pending configuration shows 0. In sync, this time no change are required, so that becomes 0. And in sync, close that. Now, configuration status is in synchronize. Let's close it. Now we're gonna go show some topology features. It may take some time to reflect. Just make sure you that. And I can, when I register switch, a topology diagram is automatically generated. The topology can be freely changed and save and drag to drop. This is the operational status. I can easily check this health status or off the configuration status on the topology. Let's double click VXLAN EVPN fabric. We can see the spanning 2. When I hover over a link, I'll show IF in use. Okay. I can also easily check the topology configuration of automatically deployed VPC. Here you go. For some details, I can click here and see the detail. Right here, VPC pair. Open up to see the detail of my VPC. Overview allows me to check this overall status of my VPC configuration. VPC consistency.
It takes some time to reflect. There you go. And here you go. Peer link status. Come down over there, send status, receive status, success. Now I want to show you something different. On the fabric, click here. Take a little action, more, added fabric. What I want to show you is adding a switch using a pop-up. On the bootstrap, this is the pure on auto provisioning. This allows me to detect and add switches with zero touch. So add enable here, I can enable bootstrap, I enable local DHCP, IPv4, I can fill in everything right here. And on the data, we can do all kinds of power or auto provision stuff. Okay, that's it. We created fabrics, the fabric, VXLAN fabric and external fabric. We added switches, we provision them, and then we create a VPC in VXLAN fabric, and I'll show you the topology. Next video, we're going to show you how to create interfaces. Stay tuned.
Hey everyone, NetMaven here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to dive into the world of amazing network technologies with me, and please feel free to leave your comments below. Hey everyone, NetMaven here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to dive into the world of amazing network technologies with me, and please feel free to leave your comments below.